There's a liquid sitting in your kitchen right now that costs less than $2, kills every weed on your property within 24 hours, leaves your soil completely clean within 48, and holds full approval from the United States government as an herbicidal agent. The company's charging you $127 a season to spray your yard with something that stays in your soil for months, are not confused about this. They know exactly what is in your kitchen. They are counting on you not knowing. You have tried the spray bottles from the garden center. You have tried the granules in the orange bag. You have followed the 4-step program and watched it work for a season, and then watched the weeds come back thicker the following spring. You have paid for the professional service that smells like a chemistry classroom for 3 days after the truck leaves. And through all of it, the answer has been sitting on the shelf next to your stove. What is it? How does it work? Why have the companies selling you $40 bottles of herbicide never mentioned it? And why, if the government approved it decades ago, can you not find it at your garden center today? I am Ken Fujita. I grew up in rural Nagano, Japan, and I have kept a home and yard in this country for over 30 years. My father tended his land in Nagano without a single synthetic input for his entire life. His father did the same. What I am going to show you today is not new to my family. It is new to the industry that would prefer you keep buying from them. Week on this channel, one honest fix for your home and your yard, 30 years of methods tested by hand, nothing sold to you. If that is useful to you, subscribe and the next one will find you. Now, the substance itself and what it does to a weed. It does not slow the plant down. Does not yellow it gradually over 2 weeks the way a systemic herbicide works, moving through the vascular system and interrupting cellular reproduction. This works differently. You apply it in the morning. By afternoon, the leaves are curling. By the following morning, the plant is dead. Dandelion, crabgrass, thistle, ground ivy, bindweed. Not slowed down, not yellowed and struggling. Dead. And the soil underneath. A standard synthetic herbicide can leave its active compound in your topsoil for up to 174 days. That is nearly 6 months during which the compound is still present, still moving through the soil structure, still affecting the organisms that your lawn depends on. Earthworms, beneficial fungi, the nematodes that suppress grub populations. Acetic acid breaks down in the soil within 48 hours. Your children are playing on that lawn. 174 days versus 48 hours. That is not a small difference. But if it works this completely and costs almost nothing, one question has to be answered before the rest of this makes sense. Why has no one told you about this? Now, I want to be precise here because I am not asking you to take my word for it. The United States Department of Agriculture published a peer-reviewed study in 2002, documenting the following. At a 5% concentration of acetic acid, weed mortality reached 85 to 100% within 24 hours. At 10% concentration, mortality improved further. At 20% concentration, mortality was 100% within 24 hours across every tested species. That result did not move through the commercial herbicide pipeline. It did not become a product. The research was filed, and the industry continued selling you what it had always been selling you. A full seasonal acetic acid treatment for a standard residential lot runs approximately $11. Conventional synthetic herbicide program for the same lot runs between $100 and $130 for the season. Same yard, same weeds, same outcome above ground. Before I go on, let me ask you something. What are you putting on your weeds this year? The granules, the weed and feed, the spray bottle from the hardware store. And is it working? Or are you back outside doing it again next spring? Tell me in the comments. 1. Now, the history, because this is not a new discovery and it was never anyone's secret. Vinegar has been documented in agricultural practice for centuries as a tool for managing unwanted vegetation. My father knew this. His father knew it before him. Every culture that fermented grain or fruit produced vinegar, and every culture that produced it found uses for it in their fields. The only real discontinuity in that record is the 20th century, when an industry found something more profitable to sell. Now what it actually is. It is acetic acid, white vinegar. The plain white vinegar on your grocery store shelf costs under $2 a gallon and runs about 5% concentration. The pickling and horticultural vinegar at 10 to 20%, available at the same store or any farm supply, costs $3 to $4 a gallon and matches exactly the concentration levels in the USDA mortality data. The numbers from that study are not abstract anymore. They describe the bottle you can put in your cart this afternoon. Mechanism is direct. Acetic acid penetrates the waxy cuticle that covers the surface of a plant's leaves and stem. That cuticle is the plant's moisture barrier. Once the acid penetrates it, the plant cannot retain water. The cells begin to dehydrate from the outside in. Membrane integrity collapses. The plant has no recovery mechanism for this kind of damage because nothing in its evolutionary history prepared it for an acid that destroys its surface barrier this quickly. Within hours, the damage is irreversible. By the following morning, the plant is dead. This is why the USDA data shows 100% mortality at 20% concentration. At that concentration, the acid penetrates the cuticle faster than the plant can generate any response. There is no partial kill. The mechanism is too direct, and because acetic acid is a simple organic compound, the soil biota break it down within 48 hours. The earthworms survive. The beneficial fungi survive. The nematodes survive. The living structure of your soil, which took years to build, and which the synthetic program is quietly dismantling season by season, remains intact. The cost: a gallon of white vinegar, under $2, a gallon of standard name brand herbicide between $20 and $40, and it leaves your soil carrying that compound for months. The pickling vinegar at 20%, $3 to $4 a gallon, and the soil is clean within 48 hours. For a half-acre seasonal treatment, the total seasonal cost is approximately $11. The synthetic program for the same lot, $127. That is the math the companies selling you the $127 program would rather not become common knowledge. Now, the last question. If acetic acid holds regulatory approval as an herbicidal agent in this country, why can you not find an acetic acid herbicide product on the shelf at your garden center? Walk through any major garden center and look for it. You will not find it, not because it does not exist, not because it has not been approved, because the retail herbicide shelf is stocked by companies whose margin depends on you not knowing the $11 alternative. A product that costs the customer $11 per season does not generate the revenue of a $127 seasonal program that gets renewed every year. I am not telling you anyone is hiding this. It is simpler than that. Nobody has a reason to put it in front of you. The 4-step program in the orange bag, the granules, the truck that comes every month, every one of those exists because someone earns on the repeat. Honestly, just skip it. Yuki, my wife, pulled me aside years ago, my second spring in this country, when I came home with a bag of granular weed control that cost me more than I want to admit. She looked at the bag, looked at me, and said nothing. She went to the kitchen, came back with a spray bottle and the gallon jug from under the sink, and walked out to the driveway. I have not bought a bag of granular weed control since. Now, 4 safety points, and I will not skip them because this is the part where being impressive instead of honest would get someone hurt. First, concentration. The bottle in your kitchen at 5% is safe to handle with ordinary care. The 20% pickling and horticultural vinegar is not the same material. It is a strong acid, it will burn skin on contact, and it can cause permanent damage to your eyes. Wear sealed safety goggles, not reading glasses, not sunglasses. Wear gloves and long sleeves. If it reaches your eye, flush with clean running water for 15 minutes and call a doctor. Do not wait to see whether it settles down. I would rather say that plainly now than have you learn it standing in your own driveway. Second, it is non-selective. It does not know the difference between a dandelion and a seedling you want to keep. Apply it precisely on a calm day with no wind directly onto the weed you are targeting. A small spray bottle gives you more control than a large garden sprayer. Protect the plants beside it, and if you cannot spray it without drift reaching something you care about, walk away and wait for a still morning. Third, it works on the surface. For young annual weeds and shallow-rooted broadleaf weeds, one application at 20% is sufficient. Perennial weeds with deep root systems, bindweed or thistle that have been in the ground for multiple seasons, a single application kills what is above ground, but the root may regenerate. Reapply when the new growth appears. 3 applications over one growing season will exhaust most perennial root systems. That is still $11 for the season. Fourth, keep it away from children and pets until it is dried, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes on a warm day. Once dry, there is no residue concern, and do not pour it on soil you intend to plant into that same week. High concentrations will drop the surface pH temporarily. Wait, and the soil is ready again. The information was never lost. It was in the government's own research files. It was in the agricultural journals. It was in the practice of every family that farmed without a chemical aisle to walk down. It simply stopped being passed along, because nobody makes a living passing it along. This weekend, pick up a gallon of 20% pickling vinegar. Put on your goggles and your gloves. Walk your driveway, cracks, your patio edges, your fence line. Apply it on a dry, still morning when no rain is forecast for 24 hours. Come back the next morning. Dead in 24 hours. Soil clean in 48. Total cost under $4 for the gallon. Next week, the same principle applied to something that has been living in your walls and your foundation longer than you know.